right, hey, welcome to today. We're here in lovely Kissimmee, Florida, rocking, traveling, and we had a chance to jam. So we wanted to do a little bit of a story of the journey of where we are today with real estate solar solutions and how we got there. So, Rock, tell a little bit of the background of what you were involved with solar. We met at one of your events and decided to do this big rollout for Keller Williams on solar sales, but give us a little bit of your background and we'll hit that moment and then we'll share forward a little bit of the journey on where we got to and some of the solutions we started to come up with, because we know that there's a lot of benefit that we're bringing to the marketplace now and we want to expose that, but we thought maybe you'd enjoy hearing the background of that. So Buck, what was your involvement in solar, and then get us to that place?
Yeah, I started consulting in solar about 3 years ago when I came across, living in Arizona, seeing solar panels everywhere, and my reticular activating system went off, and I'm like, okay, there must be something here. And I had a friend that was selling it, so I started helping him expand his business, and his team was door knocking and doing different things. And I thought, how does this affect the real estate transaction? So I talked to some of the local realtors, and I thought, hey, you know what? If you can give us business because you're talking to homeowners, we'll pay you instead of paying these marketing firms and these people that were selling leads. And I noticed that nobody referred us to anybody. They're all like, yes, I will. And then nothing happened. Yep. And I thought, that's awfully weird. You're talking to a whole bunch of people. Somebody must want it. So I started to dig a little bit, and I found out that real estate agents were struggling with selling real estate transactions with solar on it. They didn't know how to package it. They didn't understand the different ways that people purchased it, acquired it, didn't know how to quantify it. And then as I dug more, I found out that people actually really disliked it. Yeah, in most cases. Now, there were people that were happy, and their mother had it, their brother had it, and it was really cool. And we did get some referrals from them. And that's when I started, I think it was right around the time you and I started to speak. And I thought, how do we bring this information to the agents in a way that provides them with education so they can win in the real estate transaction?
Yeah, and so as we were talking about that and going through your journey, you were really excited about the potential in the solar arena and that people were doing it wrong is how we were first phrasing it. And so as I got educated, I've been a team leader for 10 years in the ecosystem here at Keller Williams, and you've been an OP for 20, is that correct?
Well, I've been in real estate for 32 years, 20 years with the former company, now 10 with Keller Williams.
That's right. So I had seen some of how people have solved global challenges in our ecosystem, big issues. And I'd always thought that I'd like to be part of that type of opportunity is solving something across our full Keller Williams ecosystem. So my mind was always on that thought. And so when we started talking, I said, hey, let's solve that sucker. He's an amazing coach and speaker and problem solver. And so we put our brains together. And we're kind of the two original founders. We have a couple other people in our journey together, Rich Rector and a guy named Jake Wilson, that are part of our journey here and helping solve these issues. Yet we got this mastermind together. Go, how do we solve this? And we had to figure out the root of the challenges first. And really, we can dive into that. But we exposed that really the solar in many cases was causing really difficult challenges in the transaction. And we started actually rolling out market centers and joint ventures to partake with us in selling solar and moving this opportunity forward. And we found a lot of pushback from the agent side. And when we dove into why, it was because so many of them had those issues. And so when you look at some of those issues that we were finding, what are some of those core dynamics that as we scraped and clawed through those scenarios, what do we find when we were out?
Well, let me first put on my nerd hat.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a numbers guy. And so anytime I look at something, I want to look at what's the scalability, what's the impact going to be. And so I start to look at the fact that there's 100 million homes in America, and only about 4 million approximately have solar on it. However, with a turnover rate, and that's the amount of homes, say, per 1,000 homes that will sell typically, it's around 3.8 to 4%. And so if you look at the number of homes that currently have solar, that would mean about 200,000 transactions are going to happen in the next 12 months in the real estate field that have solar on it. In a deregulated field like solar, there are 20,000 different organizations out there selling solar, all the way from Tesla and Sunrun and big organizations right down to mom and pop, local, and even you do it yourself, throw it on the roof. So when you go to sell that, how is an agent possibly going to understand how to package it when there's zero people training what that means?
Yep.
And so when I realized that, I thought, okay, we have to go right to the root. I'm going to be able to help the agent quantify this asset. You remember back in 2008 and 2009, there was training that went out for foreclosures and short sales. And agents that didn't know how to do that, they lost out on business. Yep. And I think that the market at the moment right now is going to be agents that don't know how to sell with solar are going to lose out on all of their past clients that have solar. And if they're representing a buyer and they're going to negotiate, they're risking doing a poor job for that agent. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep. So we scoured the nation and tried to find an expert in this field, and we couldn't find hardly one. So we had some people with a company called Pearl that is really Pearl's purpose, if you heard them in the renewable energy space, they're really focusing on the asset. So a lot of builders and people that are working to get the asset deemed at a certain tier of renewable energy capacity or a rating there, they're focused more on the seller and the asset getting a rating, but no one was focused on the transaction. And they have like 10 or 15 minutes of education there, but not in a way that really dove into the transaction. And so in our journey, we found a fella who had one obscure video podcast on YouTube that it started to dance around how to solve the transaction problems. And he was coming from the mortgage field. And that we realized, because I had talked to about 10 appraisers through the country that were specialists in appraising green houses. And they all had a very similar take, black and white, this and that, and we're running it by the rule of law here, and this is the way it needs to get done. But this mortgage broker fella had a methodology to be able to show the appraisers, no, in this code and this case study, this specific area of Fannie Mae guidelines, it does allow for this, and here's the way we can approach reevaluating that part of the asset. And so he was the key, but there was one, and I'm a good researcher. We found that fella, and we pulled everything out of him for knowledge. He's been doing this for many years and has a great education on that. So we started to formulate a course to help, just like the short sale thing that Rocket said, to develop some additional education around how to handle these things and some support services. So,
yeah, that's a good point. And maybe I can just explain a little bit the simplicity of it. When an agent goes to evaluate a property, there are some factors that are pretty fundamental to us. And think back to the homeowner. When they call up their agent, they might say, hey, I'm thinking of renovating my kitchen. Would that be a good move? I'm thinking of doing my bathroom. I'm thinking of putting in an in-ground pool or putting on an extension. And the agent will check with certain criteria and go, well, yeah, the kitchen and the bathroom, yes. But if you paint your house blue for $15,000, that's going to add zero value. In fact, it may detract. Well, what now is a new line item on there is a solar system. But past history proves that most agents don't know how to quantify that. Most appraisers don't know how. Most banks don't love it. And if there's a UCC one filing on it, then it skews the whole thing. And so what has happened is that homes have sold with the solar system, and it hasn't sold for more. So now, is the homeowner happy? No. They're selling a house with an asset that allows the new homeowner to take it over and have no utility bill, which is an asset, but nobody's able to do the translation. And so the homeowner ends up being unhappy, the realtor is frustrated, and so the actual asset now needs to be quantified, and that's where we come in, is we're going to help the homeowner win again. We're going to help the agent feel more comfortable in the transaction, and then the purchaser is going to actually get what they're paying for, because sometimes they don't know what they're getting. They're assuming a mortgage with a high payment. They're doing all kinds of stuff. They're getting panels, and then the roof needs to be changed in 4 years, and they got a cost for that, but nobody's telling them that. And we could go on for days with the different nuances and problems, right?
Yep. Yeah. And the greatest point to that is that as I'm debating with one of the top appraisers in the country out of California, who was another fellow I found on YouTube, was he was very staunch that if the UCC1 filing was on the property, and that means it's...
Maybe explain what that is.
Yeah, so the UCC1 filing is in sorts like a title connection to when the panels are on the roof. It's a cloud of title, but it also is documents that allow those panels to be repossessed by the financing company. And so if you stop paying on your solar panels, they're going to come and yank them off your roof potentially. And so when it's in that status, what the appraiser says is, while I'm not appraising it, if it's in that status, I'm not going to give it value because it could be ripped off tomorrow. So I can give it value. It's not a fixture. And so the trouble is that we're in the sequence of selling a home and it's going to be moved to that new buyer. How do we transition it from this non-fixture personal, chattel to a actual fixture post-closing and give value for it? And that's where all the mechanics have started to fall apart. But to your point earlier is that when you have the add-ons to properties, the pools, the kitchen, all these things, not one of those will turn around and make you money. And so everything that's an add-on, this one has the biggest logical case point to have value in an appraisal. So if we're making $2,400 of electric every year, and we know that we have a 20-year warranty on that the company will guarantee that production, how in the heck is that thing not worth $40,000 plus, right?
It is, though.
Yeah.
It is, and it's quantifiable. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we provide the agent with 3 different tools they can use in order to explain that to the potential purchaser. And once agents see it, they're like, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the journey that we're on. So as you're learning about us and we're out there in the marketplace pushing these concepts forward, we'd love to invite you to partake in some of our courses, partake in our education, get to know us and our services, because what we're hoping to do is streamline the transaction for the homeowners. I mean, they're being sold by people that we're not in control of, these solar systems, and they're doing good things and they're getting tax rebates, and yet there's consequences to each one of these little steps that are a bit more weighty than what they're being sold on. And to your point, if a roof needs to be put on, and if they're not taking into consideration they might sell in a year, these are all things that are causing really negative challenges for homeowners. And we believe in the fiduciary role that, we should be in that spot. So talk a little bit about the vision of how agents need to maintain pushing up that fiduciary role, and how with this solar opportunity, we could take back some ground there.
Yeah, there's a lot of different pieces, but it started for me at the point where I've been consulting with solar sales reps, and I started to say to them, listen, we really need to provide for the homeowner the option to purchase a system only if, when they go to sell, there's an advantage for them. And so how do you present that? You've got to present all of the consequences of buying a system that maybe you're going to sell in 2 to 3 years, where there's going to be an advantage. And there's elements, for example, there's a taxable credit that can be given of about 30% of the purchase of the system to the homeowner that owns that property. There's also immediate savings in most cases, depending on the relationship with the utility company, which needs to be figured out. There's something called net metering that we'll talk about on another video. So when you start to put these pieces in place, the condition of the roof, the size of the NP unit, then the consultant can then very transparently say to the homeowner, I would recommend that you do go forward with this, and then here's the package I'll provide your realtor to be able to explain everything to the prospective buyer in 2, 3, 4 years. Or I don't suggest you go forward, and here's why. Mm-hmm. And now we're fiduciaries.
Here.
Now we're selling where is the best interest of the home/homeowner, mm-hmm. because eventually the numbers don't lie. 8 million people are going to go solar in the next 8 years. You're going to have a plethora of conversations around that, especially in the bigger states like Florida and Texas and Arizona and California. People are going to be moving into that. And even new developments are everybody is solar ready. They're putting them on anyway.
We've had, I want to say, half of the builders in our city are just putting them on. Like, solar's already on the roofs when they buy the house. And I'm hearing they've got some options. They can either buy the solar or they can lease it. So it's interesting that the builders are always getting in the solar business along with the rest of the sales reps, but they're offering some options like PPAs or leases where they're trimming a little bit of the profit off the top of the solar panel. So,
well, they've got to put a heat pump in. Now today, solar is just one of the options. So it makes sense. And in Florida, the DeSantis passed a bill saying that the HOA cannot prevent somebody from going solar. Mm-hmm. In California, it's mandated new construction has to be solar ready. So you're going to see now that this transition is going to happen. And if people don't understand how to evaluate that system, it's going to handicap them in the real estate investment. And I'll give you another example. If there's a home that needs to be fixed up and it needs a new roof and you put solar on it at the same time, you could roll that entire package and have it financed for 25 years, where somebody may not be able to afford outlay of $20,000 for a new roof and $30,000 for a solar system. So there's many benefits, and the government wants people to go green. Mm-hmm. In Texas, you've got these warnings where, hey, can you please not put your air conditioning below 78 degrees between 4 and 7? And homeowners are like, I worked hard to have the right to not sweat in my own home.
Yeah.
And so if that's the way it's going to be, give me solar.
Yeah. Yeah. The greens are being taxed. California, Texas, there's it's not just this dynamic around the changing weather patterns and all that stuff. It's this idea that even on the baseline of our human, citizenship and working in our cities, like we're having issues with power, and so going to solar can be a great solution for a lot of reasons.
And then add to that the fact that many of us, myself included, drive electrical cars. Mm-hmm. So we go home, we plug our car in our house because we want to save the planet or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then where is that energy being manufactured from? Well, in Arizona, I can tell you that about 56% comes from non-green sources like coal and natural gas, which create carbon emissions. Mm-hmm. So you're really defeating the purpose. You might as well just burn fuel.
Yeah.
So if we can get people localized and receiving their energy right on top of their roof, then we actually are making a difference and a dent into that whole conversation.
Yeah, and let's make sure we explain that pivot that we just started talking about there, is that, we initially went on this journey to help real estate agents be a part of the process of helping consumers go solar. And when we found all the transaction issues, we had to move to becoming transaction trainers around solar. And so let me tip off what that looks like. Is we have a 3-part process of a service. And first and foremost, we have a course. And that's not part of our service plan, but we have a course. Right now, we have kind of a founder's offering of, I think it's $47 to get in, and then $7 a month to be on our membership side. The membership side gives us an opportunity to be able to discount, because we know you took the course, we can then discount some of our services. So the services are running through the contract. So if he said there's 20,000 different solar companies across the country, and each one of them do different contracts. So having someone that really understands solar to go through and do a synopsis of that contract is really helpful for real estate agents, because then they know what needs to get done. Example of a thing that might be found in a contract is a warranty transfer clause that agents may not know. So upon closing, some contracts require a 20-day notice to the solar company that the ownership is transferred for the warranty to survive that process. And if you don't do it within 20 days, then it voids the warranty on the system, which in concept could cost that buyer a ton of future problems. Because we know that on average, solar inverters sometimes need to be changed like once every 7 years. And if that's warranted, that's a big savings to have in the process, right? So that's just one example of about 15 other major issues that can happen if you don't know what's going on in a solar contract. So that's step one, is we do a contract synopsis so that everyone knows exactly what we're into and how it needs to be transitioned, whether it's a lease, a purchase, and all the methods to approach. The next thing is a solar appraisal. So someone could have bought a system for $75,000, rolled in a roof, and done a bunch of other things. It doesn't mean that's what exactly the solar panels are worth. The solar panels are worth, from our perspective and our method, is the income that they produce, and a really justifiable way with the appraiser that we can show that there's value there. And we do a very specific method on the appraisal side to justify that price and what it should be worth.
And if I could just add on to that, is you could renovate your kitchen and you could make a lot of mistakes and spend $80,000. It doesn't mean you're going to get that back.
Right.
You could buy overpriced materials. You could have somebody that quotes you really high and they make a lot of mistakes and they charge you again and again. It doesn't mean the kitchen is worth $80,000. It's worth what, the buyer deems it to be worth based on a fair market share. And the same thing is with solar, is we have to really strip away what is the essence of that system and what value will it bring to the future purchaser.
Yeah, 100%. And so that valuation is important in the transaction side because we got to fight for that battle to get the appraisal that add that money into it to make sure that we don't go down the right of what's called, or the route of what's called the assumption model. The assumption model where the house is sold for a baseline price and we just try to get the solar loan assumed by the buyer. There's so many potholes in that journey for both the seller and the buyer. And you go our course, you'll learn more about that. But it is not the road to take if possible when you're working a transaction. So we get you that valuation, we get you clarity on the contract, and then we provide you marketing materials to market it appropriately so that a buyer can really understand what they're getting into and that we can help bridge the gap of education there for everybody. And so that service is one that does take a good bit of effort from us and someone who's pretty sharp on solar to sit down and go through all that. And so the pricing will vary as we're launching all this. And yes, we believe we can have it paid on closing so that it's not a big burden initially to either the agent or the seller. And then the seller has the chance to actually get the value that they deserve from that and not get caught in the bureaucracy of what's going on between government guidelines and these appraisers. So that's our service model. And so on the course, you get involved in the course, that gives you options to get discounts on our service models because you're better educated on the challenges. We can work together better. That is our solution. But we believe then, and with that being done, now we can come back and go, as real estate agents or as homeowners out there, it makes a whole lot more sense to be involved in getting solar because a lot of those issues have been smoothed out. And so we have a whole other division of our company where we train solar reps and we actually sell solar ourselves to our brand, Real Estate Solar Solutions. And we're excited about that part of it. So to pivot back over, we still believe in that.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it as like there's a bunch of homes out there that don't have solar. There's a bunch that do have solar. And our primary focus, to be candid, was, hey, let's help all those people go solar because I was intimate to it. I have solar on my house. I saw the savings. Mm-hmm. I've sold to some celebrity, athletes. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yes, it makes so much sense. And so I thought in my brain, my simplistic brain, I thought, well, everybody's going to want to do it. It's good for the planet. It saves you money. Why would you not do it? Mm-hmm. And then we ran into that situation where agents didn't understand it. And confusion usually means that the brain says no. Mm-hmm. So we pivoted and now we've got that education piece. But once people understand how to package it, imagine that you've got somebody who has solar on their home. They see the benefits and they sell it and they make no money. They buy another home. They're probably going to hesitate to get solar.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Or they have an agent that can package it properly and sell it to the next prospective buyer, and they can make money or get the money back and have saved years of money and benefited maybe by cranking up the AC, which some people like to do because they now feel like the energy is more free. And then they go to another home and they're like saying to their agent, well, I'd like to get solar. What do I do? And that's where we have a system where we are more like solar brokers and we find the right person, the right team, the right company in their market and provide them with several quotes. And then they can go ahead and they can choose from that with a known and liked and trusted organization. And then if they have to go sell one day on that home, they know it's going to be smooth and it's going to be clean so that everybody benefits.
Yeah. And it's just our goal is to be wellness to this transaction, this wellness to this opportunity. It's been pushed out in a lot of different ways on the political side and through all these sales organizations. And so we haven't found anyone yet that's sweeping up all the broken glass that's happening from those areas. So that's us at the moment. And we hope to inspire a lot of people to join us in this journey. So check out the realestatesolar-solutions.com and our RESS certification process. And hopefully, as an agent, as a homeowner, as a solar rep, it'll help you have a better opportunity out there for you guys to succeed. And we'll see you on the next YouTube.
Yeah, and make sure that they subscribe and like the channel, because we're going to be doing case studies on this channel. We're going to be providing you with tips and ideas and keeping you up to what's happening in the market and the changes. For instance, last year in August in 2022, at the time of this recording, about almost a year ago, they came out with the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
And there's not just ways that you can get taxable credits through solar. There's through doors, windows, changing your hot water tank, changing your heating system. And so we're going to provide you with lots of information so that you can bring that information to the homeowner, and the homeowner can win by reducing their energy costs, which is great for everybody.
Yeah, it's a great example, and we'll throw one more at you. Like, subscribe, hit all the buttons, follow us. Like, and here's another example.
You got to ring the bell, or ring the doorbell, or ring that.
All right, thanks here. Yeah, follow us, whatever. Subscribe. But here's another example. In February, they passed a ruling on solar financing that when someone uses that assumption process, back to these issues, is that it has to be recorded as a second mortgage now. And that throws off CLTVs. It throws off so many issues on mortgages when people are trying to buy. You couldn't believe how many train wrecks are at that station. And so these things are timely, and there are new elements that pop up all the time. And so we will continue to put out education on this channel that at least cover that. And inside of our member site, we'll have a lot more case studies and data to help you guys be better at this, especially for real estate agents. So yeah, follow us, subscribe, hit the bells, do all those fun things. Anything else to grab?
No, I would say that I think this is going to be a great channel for realtors. It's also going to be a great channel for homeowners. And if you're a homeowner out there and you're thinking of selling your home and you have solar on it, you're really going to want to work with an agent that has at least solar literate knowledge, or that's been through our course, or contact us and we can refer somebody to you in that sector that has that knowledge. Because if not, you risk losing the transaction, or you risk maybe also selling it without getting the value of your system.
It's a great point. And we're building out a members network for that. So we'll have people in every state, in every city that hopefully will all be RESS certified. And that way it'll benefit you as a homeowner. So join us all on the journey, and we're looking forward to sharing time with you guys and solving this problem. And we'll see you on the next video.